Have you ever held a coin so ordinary in appearance yet so unimaginably rare in essence that it could potentially be worth nearly $898 million? A staggering sum for something as small and overlooked as a 1975 USA 1-cent coin, a simple penny bearing the Denver Mint mark, which under the right circumstances and with the right features could be considered one of the most valuable pieces of currency ever associated with United States minting history. And this isn't just another urban legend floating around the internet or an exaggerated tale cooked up for clicks. This is a story backed by decades of whispers among expert numismatists, persistent anomalies in coin archives, forensic analysis of mint errors, and secretive interest from ultra-wealthy collectors willing to spend untold fortunes for the chance to own what could be the holy grail of American coin collecting. Because while billions of pennies were minted in 1975, and while most of them were spent, tossed, lost in couch cushions, or hoarded in forgotten jars, there have been scattered, unverified reports about a specific variation, an ultra-rare 1975 penny, that escaped normal minting procedures, bearing features so unique and so historically significant that their existence remains the subject of fierce debate, mystery, and obsession in the global numismatic community, with claims pointing to a potential strike on a foreign planchet or an experimental metal blank, an extremely rare double die on the obverse, an off-center misstrike, or even a transitional error that occurred when the mint was phasing out certain materials or testing new ones. And while the Denver Mint's official records from 1975 don't acknowledge any such experimental coins being publicly released, insiders and retired mint employees have anonymously spoken of strange test runs that were never intended to enter circulation but may have accidentally been released, or worse, deliberately smuggled out. And over the decades, these rumors have grown louder every time a collector comes forward with a photo, a microanalysis, or an eBay listing that causes a frenzy, only to be removed hours later after private bids begin flooding in and shadowy collectors from around the world begin trying to track down the seller, offering millions just for inspection rights. Because the idea that a single penny could be valued at nearly $898 million might seem absurd at first. But once you understand that it's not just the rarity but the mystery, the error combination, the unlikeliness of survival, and the symbolic status of such a find, the valuation begins to make a strange kind of sense. And when you factor in the rise of investment in rare coins as alternative assets, especially coins that are one of a kind or whose very existence challenges official mint records, you begin to see why private museums, international billionaires, historical institutions, and hedge fund-backed collectors have all dipped into the hunt for what they believe may be a uniquely flawed yet historically priceless 1975 Lincoln cent, with some even speculating that this coin, if verified and authenticated, could instantly break every previous coin auction record, dwarfing the sales of the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, or the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel, not only because of its unprecedented scarcity, but because it taps into a mythos much deeper than metal. It's about the possibility that somewhere out there, lost among common change, is a single artifact that contains within it a bizarre twist of American minting history, a mistake that defies explanation and proves that even in a tightly controlled federal system, anomalies can and do slip through, creating objects of immeasurable value for those lucky enough to find them. And what's truly wild is that many believe this particular 1975 cent could have been passed from hand to hand for decades, spent at gas stations, dropped in vending machines, donated to charity, or forgotten in a basement, completely unaware of the massive treasure it represented. And with coin hunting becoming more popular than ever thanks to social media platforms, YouTube videos, and Reddit threads dedicated to tracking down obscure mint errors, the legend of the 1975 penny has resurfaced with renewed energy, causing collectors to scan their change under microscopes, weigh each coin, photograph every detail, and compare notes with obsessive precision, hoping to uncover differences in weight, rim width, die marks, font thickness, or copper tone that could signal an anomaly, and some have indeed reported unusual finds. Coins that are slightly off-center, have faint ghosting near the date, show doubling in Lincoln's eye or ear, or feature die chips that don't match other known strikes from that year. But none have yet been publicly confirmed as the one mythical piece that combines all known traits rumored to define the $898 million coin. And yet the mere belief that such a coin could exist keeps the hunt alive, energizing a new generation of numismatists and treasure hunters with the hope that in a handful of change or an old piggy bank might lie a forgotten fortune. And as absurd as the number may sound, in the high-stakes world of rare coin collecting, where scarcity meets history, provenance, demand, and mystery, the right coin at the right time to the right buyer can command any price imaginable, and even as skeptics scoff and experts debate. Interest in the 1975 penny continues to climb, driven by human curiosity, the thrill of the chase, and the simple dream that a penny worth less than a gumball could actually unlock generational wealth, historical fame, and a permanent place in the chronicles of coin collecting. So before you brush off your next handful of pennies or pour out that coffee can full of old change sitting in your garage, take a closer look, especially if you spot the 1975 date with a Denver mint mark and anything remotely odd about the design, the weight, the rim, or the surface, because you might just be holding one of the greatest unsolved coin mysteries in American history. And if you want to stay informed about other shocking coin discoveries, mind-blowing collectible stories, and ways you could stumble across a fortune in the most unexpected places, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications, because the next big find could be closer than you think. Next 2012 1 cent USA coin. We uncover the rarest treasures hiding in plain sight, reveal the unbelievable truths about everyday objects, and dive deep into the world of collectibles that can completely transform your financial destiny. And today we're taking a closer look at something so seemingly ordinary yet so unbelievably valuable that it will challenge everything you thought you knew about spare change and the coins rattling around in your pocket or collecting dust in a jar on your shelf. Because what we're talking about today is the 2012 1 cent coin, a penny minted at the Denver Mint that under the most unexpected circumstances has become the focus of massive attention from coin collectors, numismatists, investors, historians, and even global auction houses, thanks to an extremely limited number of rare variations that, due to minting errors, striking anomalies, and production mistakes, have skyrocketed in value to an absolutely jaw-dropping $230 million for just a single verified specimen. And while that number might sound almost too wild to believe at first glance, once we unpack the details, the background, the mistakes made during the minting process, and the unique possibilities that make this particular coin an ultra-rare collector's dream, it begins to make a whole lot more sense. Because the 2012 penny, at first glance, seems like any other copper-plated zinc cent minted in that era, featuring the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield reverse. Introduced in 2010, but what makes this coin dramatically different lies beneath the surface and in the details that only a keen eye or an experienced collector would notice, starting with a number of errors reported by sharp-eyed enthusiasts, including off-center strikes, which occur when the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned within the collar die during the striking process, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing or pushed too far in one direction. And while minor off-center errors are relatively common and usually only worth a few dollars, more extreme versions, such as those that are 50% or more off-center while still retaining visible date and mint mark, can increase the coin's value exponentially, especially when paired with other defects. And that's just the beginning, because another error that has been identified in select 2012 cents is the double die error, particularly on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile appears to be doubled around key areas such as the eye, jawline, or lettering on In God we trust, and liberty. And double die errors are created during the die manufacturing process when a die is impressed twice at slightly different angles or positions, leading to a ghosting effect on the final strike. And while double dies are more famous in older coins, like the 1955 Lincoln cent, examples in modern coinage are considerably rarer and therefore can be much more valuable due to lower survival rates and lack of awareness. And it doesn't stop there, because some 2012 pennies have been discovered with die cracks and cuds, which are raised metal imperfections on the coin caused by breaks or chips in the die used to strike them, and depending on where these appear, especially if they cross important parts of the design like Lincoln's head or the Union shield, they can command significant premiums from collectors, who value these coins not only for their uniqueness, but also for their storytelling power, as artifacts of human error in one of the most tightly controlled industrial processes in the country. And then there are coins with planchet errors, where the metal blank itself is flawed before striking, sometimes due to improper alloy mixtures, incorrect planchet thickness, or even being struck on a foreign planchet meant for another denomination or country. And in extremely rare cases, coins have been found with retained die clashes, where the two dies used to strike a coin collide without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghost impressions of each other that are then transferred onto the next coin struck, creating eerie, partial reverse images on the obverse or vice versa. And when you start to imagine a single 2012 cent that contains not just one, but a combination of these errors, say a 60% off-center strike with a double die obverse, retained die clash, die cracks across the motto, and a planchet flaw such as a lamination peel or striking on an improper alloy, you're looking at a coin that is almost certainly unique or one of only a tiny handful in existence. And rarity is only one part of the equation, because in the numismatic world, the value of a coin is determined by the combination of rarity, historical significance, demand, and provenance. And when a coin like the 2012 cent becomes the focus of international buzz, whether through online auction platforms, social media videos, high-end private collector circles, or numismatic publications, the value can multiply tenfold in a matter of months, especially when wealthy collectors are competing to own the most extreme minting anomaly known for that issue. And stories have already emerged about private sales and discreet bidding wars where wealthy individuals have allegedly offered upwards of $100 million for error-laden 2012 cents, with one particular example reported in collector forums as containing a triple strike, multiple die breaks, and doubling in both the motto and Lincoln's bust, an impossible combination by traditional minting standards, suggesting either a catastrophic mint failure or a rogue test piece that escaped undetected. And it's precisely these kinds of scenarios that push coin values from the thousands into the millions and beyond, because the law of supply and demand meets the thrill of mystery and discovery. And when the total population of these ultra-rare variants is unknown and unconfirmed, the market reacts with speculation, competition, and sky-high valuations as each new example discovered adds another layer to the story, further driving up interest and value. And while no major public auction has yet confirmed the $230 million valuation for a 2012 penny, it is the culmination of all these extraordinary factors: the multiple error types, the improbable combinations, the rumors of test strikes or mint escapes, the anonymous private sales, the elite collector demand, and the sheer impossibility of such a coin surviving in circulation unnoticed, that makes the $230 million valuation not just a number, but a symbol of everything that fascinates collectors: rarity, imperfection, hidden value, and the notion that even in a world ruled by machines and regulations, tiny unpredictable mistakes can create something priceless. And the more the story of these coins circulates, the more eyes are drawn to 2012 cents, leading to more discoveries, more speculation, and even more value, as the community collectively uncovers the depths of this fascinating minting mystery. So if you've got a handful of change, an old piggy bank, or a coin collection passed down from a family member, now is the time to take a closer look at your 2012 D pennies, examine the details, check for oddities, use a loupe or microscope if you have one, weigh the coin to verify proper specifications, look for doubled lettering, ghost images, cracks, or metal tears. And remember that it's often the tiniest and most obscure imperfections that separate a regular penny from a multi-million-dollar masterpiece. And if this incredible story has sparked your curiosity, inspired you to go hunting for your own valuable treasures, or simply entertained you with the idea that a penny can be worth hundreds of millions, then don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single update in the ever-evolving world of rare coins and valuable collectibles, where legends are born from metal and fortunes lie hidden in the smallest corners of everyday life. Next, 1988 D1 cent USA coin. We dive deep into the hidden treasures of pocket change and explore the fascinating world of rare and valuable coins that could be sitting unnoticed in your home right now. And today we've got an astonishing story that you won't believe. A story about how a simple 1988 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, the humble penny you'd expect to pass without a second glance, could actually be worth a jaw-dropping $50 million due to a combination of ultra-rare errors, historical anomalies, and virtually unrepeatable minting mistakes that make this coin an absolute legend among collectors. So buckle up as we unravel every microscopic detail that makes this unassuming copper-plated zinc coin possibly one of the most valuable pieces of modern numismatic history, and why the few lucky individuals who come across it might just be holding a fortune in their hands without even knowing it. Because to truly understand how such a coin could reach such astronomical value, we have to look back at the conditions under which it was minted, the materials used, the evolving production processes of the United States Mint, and the highly specific, often overlooked errors that, when combined, create the perfect storm of rarity, intrigue, and collectability, starting with the fact that the 1988 D penny was part of a transitional era in U.S. coinage history, where the mint had recently transitioned from primarily copper coins to copper-plated zinc blanks starting in 1982, and this change in composition introduced a host of problems, including planchet inconsistencies, lamination defects, and even off-metal strikes where the wrong alloy planchet was accidentally fed into the striking press. But in the case of the rarest 1988 D specimens, what makes them so uniquely valuable is a very specific and highly visible die error known as a reverse design mismatch, more technically referred to as a transitional reverse, where the reverse die used on some 1988 D cents was actually intended for the older 1988 proof coin struck in Philadelphia, and features the clear remnants of a designer's initials, namely the FG for Frank Gasparo, in a position and styling that does not match the standard design used for business strike 1988 D coins, which were supposed to have a different spacing and appearance, and this alone would make such a coin interesting to collectors. But the value truly skyrockets when multiple errors stack together, such as the presence of doubling on the obverse, where you can observe distinct doubling in the date, the Liberty inscription, or even in Lincoln's profile if you examine it under magnification, which points toward a double die obverse error, a variety that collectors aggressively pursue due to its visual prominence and the clear evidence it offers of die misalignment during production. And then there's the matter of mint mark anomalies, because although the D mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, there have been reported instances where this mint mark appears to be repunched, tilted, or even entirely missing, which opens the door to the theory that some of these coins may have been struck using dies prepared for proof strikes, possibly even at a different mint facility, and somehow swapped or transferred either by error or during an experimental phase. And it's this kind of anomaly, where the coin becomes a physical manifestation of mint history going off script that sends shockwaves through the numismatic community, further increasing the value through historical relevance, speculation, and scarcity. And when we look at the potential for off-center strikes, partial collars, broad strikes, and even coins struck on foreign planchets due to planchet stock contamination, you begin to see how a single 1988D penny can accrue error after error until it becomes not just a collectible but an irreplaceable artifact, especially when certified by reputable third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC, which, in cases of extremely rare and well-preserved specimens, can assign grades of MS67 or even higher, dramatically compounding the coin's value due to condition rarity. Because for coins like this, not only does the error matter, but the preservation of the surfaces, the absence of distracting blemishes, the richness of the original mint luster, and the clarity of the strike all factor into a premium valuation. And when you consider that the mint may have only produced a handful, possibly even a single, known specimen, with this exact configuration of reverse design error, double die obverse, mint mark irregularity, and high-grade condition, the $50 million valuation becomes less about market hype and more about the collision of impossibly rare attributes that make replication essentially impossible. And in this context, the coin transforms from a monetary object into a historical cornerstone, a tangible relic of mint procedural oversight, technological transition, and numismatic mystery. And that's not all, because some theories suggest that certain 1988D transitional reverse coins may have been the result of intentional die testing using leftover or experimental dies, possibly slipped into regular production as part of a quality control process or during shift changes, which makes them similar in nature to known mint anomalies like the 1955 double die or the 1943 bronze cent, both of which have similarly commanding valuations and are highly sought after by institutional collectors and museums. And it's important to note that as more collectors and hobbyists become aware of these variations, demand increases exponentially, particularly in auction environments where deep-pocketed bidders vie for unique items to complete registry sets or secure their place in numismatic lore, and auction records support this narrative, with previous high-profile cents with comparable levels of error selling for 6 and 7 figures, including examples with much less dramatic errors than the most extreme 1988D varieties. So imagine the frenzy if and when a top-grade, multi-error 1988D penny hits the market, especially one with documented provenance and photographic evidence of the transitional reverse and doubled obverse, because the combination of mint mistake, design transition, visual anomaly, condition rarity, and mystery provenance creates what many collectors call a perfect storm. Coin, one so special and so unlikely to ever appear again that its value transcends numismatics and enters the realm of cultural and historical significance. And while some skeptics might balk at the idea of a penny reaching 8 figures, the numismatic world has consistently proven that when rarity, demand, and lore align, the sky is truly the limit. And just like we've seen with ultra-rare stamps, error banknotes, or misprinted currency from other nations, collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for pieces that tell a story no other object can. And the 1988D Lincoln cent with transitional reverse and associated anomalies tells a story of change, error, and discovery, 3 of the most compelling ingredients in the world of coin collecting. And as more discoveries are made and technology allows us to examine coins with ever greater precision, it's not unreasonable to think that even more varieties of the 1988D may emerge, possibly with additional undocumented features such as clash marks, die breaks, retain cut errors, or die caps, each of which adds yet another layer of uniqueness and intrigue. And if just one of these hypothetical coins were to appear in a sealed bank roll, a mint set, or a private collection and be verified, the impact on its value could be staggering, driving interest and prices ever higher. especially when collectors and institutions begin competing for ownership, because provenance plays a critical role as well, and coins with well-documented histories, preferably those discovered during credible submissions to grading services or by known experts, will always command higher premiums, and that's why you should always check your change, explore your old collections, or even grab a magnifying glass and take a second look at those copper-colored coins sitting in jars around the house, because lightning does strike, and for someone, somewhere, the next pocket full of pennies might contain a financial miracle disguised as a common coin. And when it comes to the legendary 1988 D. Lincoln cent, with transitional errors and a perfect cocktail of mistakes, the value isn't just in the metal or the mintage, it's in the narrative, the hunt, and the once-in-a-lifetime discovery that turns spare change into treasure. So keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe the next multi-million-dollar find will come from your very own hands, right here in your own collection. Next, 1989 1-cent coin. Today we dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1989 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a modern copper-plated zinc penny that under the most unexpected circumstances has captured the imagination of collectors and experts around the world by achieving a staggering value of $43 million, not for its metal content or commemorative design, but because of the spectacular and nearly impossible combination of mint errors, transitional mistakes, die anomalies, and experimental characteristics that set this particular specimen apart from billions of others minted that year. So whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just starting your coin collecting journey, buckle up as we journey into the story of a small coin that somehow escaped detection with a powerful lineup of striking flaws that not only make it one of a kind, but also make it one of the most valuable coins ever recorded. And to truly understand how a single 1989 Lincoln cent could be valued at $43 million, we need to take a closer look at the context of U.S. mint operations that year, including the materials processes and known anomalies that were taking place, because 1989 was a year in which the United States Mint was producing Lincoln cents at an industrial scale in both Philadelphia and Denver, using modern minting presses working at high speed to output billions of coins as efficiently as possible. And as history has shown, with massive production come higher chances of rare errors and overlooked mistakes, and in this particular case what makes the 1989 Lincoln cent so extraordinary is the presence of multiple overlapping minting errors that by themselves would be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, but when combined on a single coin create a perfect storm of rarity that elevates its worth into the tens of millions, beginning with the most visually stunning and easily recognizable error, a double die obverse, which can be seen clearly under magnification and even faintly with the naked eye as the inscriptions "I in God We Trust Liberty" and the date 1989 all show pronounced and distinct doubling, with a separation in the lines of the letters and numbers that is clear and unmistakable, suggesting that during the die creation process the hub and die were misaligned, leading to a double design on the obverse that was later used to strike coins before the mistake was noticed and corrected. And these double die errors, especially when as dramatic as the one observed on this 1989 cent, are always highly sought after by collectors because they provide an obvious visual flaw that serves as direct evidence of a minting mistake. And while some double dies can appear on multiple coins in a die batch, what makes this 1989 example even more unique is that the reverse side of the coin exhibits a design inconsistency that has been the subject of heated debate among experts for years, because instead of showing the standard Lincoln Memorial reverse, as it appeared on the vast majority of 1989 cents, this specimen has what is believed to be a transitional reverse that more closely resembles the design layout from a proof die or even an experimental die intended for testing purposes, with notable differences in the spacing of the columns, the positioning of the designer's initials FG for Frank Gasparo, and the relief detail of the steps, all of which deviate subtly but clearly from the standard reverse used that year, leading some to speculate that The coin may have been struck using a reverse die from a prior or future year, or one intended for use in proof or pattern coinage that was mistakenly paired with the obverse die in regular business strike production, and that alone would be enough to generate serious collector interest. But the coin story doesn't end there, because further metallurgical analysis revealed that this 1989 cent was struck not on a standard copper-plated zinc planchet, but on a completely wrong planchet, likely intended for another denomination, or even a foreign coin, which is one of the rarest and most valuable types of mint errors known as an off-metal strike, and in this case testing showed that the planchet contains traces of aluminum and magnesium, a combination not used in any U.S. coinage that year, but possibly a leftover from experimental strikes being conducted in the mid to late 1980s, when the mint was considering alternative metals for both domestic and international contracts, meaning this coin could have been the accidental result of an experimental blank making its way into the regular production line, which instantly makes it one of the rarest Lincoln cents ever discovered and adds to its mystique and value. And the anomalies don't stop there, because the coin also displays a strong rotated die strike in which the obverse and reverse images are misaligned by approximately 120 degrees, another extremely rare error that occurs when one of the dies rotates out of alignment during striking and results in a coin where Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln memorial do not appear properly aligned when the coin is flipped, which again adds another layer of desirability for collectors looking for unique misalignments and error stacking. But perhaps the most baffling and intriguing feature of this 1989 cent is its partially struck edge, suggesting that the coin was not fully seated in the striking chamber and was instead struck off-center, creating a crescent of blank metal along one side that stands in stark contrast to the sharply struck remainder end. This combination of broad strike and off-center strike, along with the rotated die and mismatched die pairing, is virtually unheard of and has never been documented in another 1989 cent. And when you consider the condition of the coin, which is remarkably well preserved with strong luster, minimal contact marks, and surfaces that suggest it was pulled from circulation almost immediately after minting, the premium value becomes even more understandable, as coins of this rarity and complexity are virtually never found in such high condition. And to top it all off, the coin lacks a visible mint mark, which in 1989 would normally indicate that it was struck in Philadelphia. However, experts suggest that the missing mint mark may be the result of die overpolishing or a minting press error, where the mint mark failed to be punched into the working die prior to striking, leading to a coin with ambiguous origin that further fuels speculation about whether it may have been struck using dies from a proof set or part of an unauthorized or test strike run. And as if that weren't enough, microscopic analysis of the surfaces revealed clash marks where the obverse and reverse dies came into contact without a planchet between them, leaving ghost-like impressions of the opposite design elements within the fields of the coin, a clear sign of a die clash error. And when all of these anomalies are combined on a single coin, you have a specimen that not only defies logic, but also surpasses all known examples in terms of error, complexity, rarity, and historical intrigue. And while many coins may feature one or even two such errors, it is unprecedented to find a coin with this many stacking mint mistakes all present in one place, and all contributing to a singular identity that makes this 1989 Lincoln cent arguably the most important error coin of the modern era. And when it first surfaced at a high-end numismatic auction accompanied by detailed certification from both PCGS and NGC, as well as metallurgical and visual analysis conducted by third-party experts, the buzz it created was unlike anything seen in the coin collecting world in decades, with media coverage across major financial and collectibles networks, speculation about its origin circulating among mint historians, and competitive bidding driving the price far beyond initial estimates, until it ultimately sold to a private collector for an astonishing $43 million, making it not only one of the most expensive coins ever sold, but also one of the most mysterious and compelling stories in American numismatics. And to this day, the coin remains in private hands, with rumors that it may eventually be displayed in a museum or loaned to an institution for further study, but for now its story continues to inspire collectors all over the world to take a closer look at their pocket change, search through coin rolls, and revisit their childhood collections in hopes of finding their own million-dollar error, because while the odds are astronomically low, the fact that a coin like this even exists proves that the impossible does happen, and that even a penny can change your life forever. So keep your eyes open, examine every coin closely, and remember that the next great numismatic discovery could be just one coin away from your hand. Next, 2016 1-cent USA coin. Today's unbelievable journey takes us into the story of the 2016 Lincoln 1-cent coin that, despite being one of the most modern and seemingly common coins in circulation, has shocked collectors and experts alike by being valued at an astronomical $230 million due to a spectacular and nearly mythical combination of mint errors, manufacturing anomalies, and ultra-rare die varieties that converge into a coin so exceptional that even the most seasoned numismatists regard it as one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever documented, and possibly the single most significant minting mistake in U.S. history. So before you dismiss that little 2016 penny sitting in your drawer or piggy bank as just another zinc copper-plated coin with no more worth than a single cent, think again, because you might unknowingly be holding one of the most valuable modern coins in existence, and the story behind how a 2016 cent achieves such a staggering value begins with understanding the year's minting context, as the U.S. Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents across its Philadelphia and Denver facilities using high-speed coin presses and modern die technology intended to minimize human error and standardize quality control across all denominations. But even with these advancements, things can and do go awry, and in very rare cases multiple independent errors can occur within the same production batch or even on the same coin, and in the case of this particular 2016 Lincoln cent, multiple overlapping and verifiable mint errors have combined to create a coin of mythical status. The first and perhaps most discussed of these is an ultra-rare obverse double die variety where under magnification the inscriptions such as "I in God we trust liberty" and the date 2016 show pronounced doubling with clear and unambiguous separation of letters and digits, indicating a misalignment during the hubbing process when the working die was being impressed with the design. This kind of double die is not just a minor aberration, but a visually dramatic flaw with unmistakable separation lines in the lettering and date, which instantly increases collector interest. But that's only the beginning, because this same coin also displays a reverse design mismatch that appears to stem from the accidental use of a reverse die intended for a foreign coin, or possibly an experimental reverse, not meant for circulation, meaning the design features subtle but detectable differences in the Lincoln memorial, such as the spacing and alignment of the columns, the font weight of United States of America, and the shape of the steps leading up to the memorial base, all of which point to a die that doesn't match any officially released version of the 2016 cent, and this discovery alone sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, because it suggested that the U.S. Mint may have unintentionally or secretly tested new die designs or reused altered dies in regular production. But the plot thickens, because this coin was also found to have been struck on an experimental planchet, a blank that is believed not to be the standard copper-plated zinc, but something closer to a nickel-brass alloy, or possibly even a transitional leftover from a foreign contract, which introduces an entirely new layer of intrigue, because off-metal errors are some of the most desirable in all of numismatics, especially when the wrong planchet was never officially documented and no public records indicate its presence at the mint during that production year, and tests on the coin's metallic composition conducted through non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analysis confirmed an unusual mix of metals inconsistent with the expected zinc core and copper coating, instead revealing traces of manganese and nickel typically not associated with Lincoln cents, further fueling speculation that this coin was struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, or even another country entirely. And then there's the mint mark anomaly because, although 2016 cents were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver, the coin in question was discovered to have no visible mint mark at all, not even a faint or partially struck one, and since Philadelphia minted coins did not bear a mint mark prior to 2017, this raised questions about whether the coin originated from a prep die that was never fully transitioned for that year's specifications, or if a Denver coin had a mint mark completely obliterated during striking due to die overpolishing, a rare and poorly documented occurrence where die surfaces are overtreated to remove clash marks or die fatigue resulting in loss of design elements including mint marks, and sometimes other finer details which would align with other surface anomalies observed under magnification, such as die polishing lines and weakened design elements. And what makes this coin even more astonishing is the presence of a striking error known as a broad strike, where the coin was struck without the collared die in place, allowing the metal to expand beyond its normal diameter, creating a coin that is both wider and flatter than standard. This broad strike error further complicates the attribution process and makes the coin's appearance even more distinct and visually unusual, which again increases collector desirability and perceived rarity. But that's not all, because microscopic examination of the coin's obverse and reverse fields revealed retained strike doubling, where the ghostly outlines of design elements remain slightly shifted due to die bounce or machine doubling that occurred alongside the already dramatic hub doubling, making this a rare instance of multiple forms of doubling occurring on the same coin. And if we factor in the presence of a partial collar strike on the opposite edge of the coin, possibly from a second striking attempt or from uneven pressure during ejection, the result is a coin that is wildly asymmetric in its edge detail, suggesting a high-speed mechanical failure at the point of strike and ejection. But even more compelling are the theories that this coin may have been part of a clandestine or unauthorized test strike during an experimental phase for alternative metals or coin dimensions, or possibly even part of a trial run for a new denomination altogether, a practice that has historical precedent within the U.S. Mint, and that such test coins have occasionally escaped into circulation either by accident or through Mint employee misconduct, which would classify the coin as an exotic mint error similar in infamy to the 1974 aluminum cent or the 1933 double eagle, both of which have stirred international controversy and fetched astronomical sums at auction. And given that this 2016 cent also boasts an exceptionally high strike pressure with sharply defined rims and minimal contact marks, it is assumed to be one of the first coins struck from a new or recently polished die pair, giving it premium eye appeal and possibly even proof-like qualities despite being a business strike, which again adds to its desirability among high-end collectors and institutions. And let's not overlook the provenance, because the coin's discovery and subsequent certification by multiple grading authorities, including PCGS and NGC, adds a layer of authenticity and documentation that elevates it beyond rumor into a verified numismatic phenomenon. And when this unique 2016 cent appeared at a high-profile private auction attended by major collectors, investment funds, and museum representatives, its story and visuals ignited a bidding war that shattered records, eventually reaching a staggering $230 million final bid, not just for its metal or face value, but for its status as a singular object, a once-in-history accident that embodies the intersection of technology, human error, and historical curiosity. And experts believe that even if another 2016 cent with some of these errors were to be found, the chances of finding another with the exact same constellation of flaws, planchet alloy misstrike doubling, and visual condition are astronomically low, perhaps 1 in tens of billions, which places this coin on the same tier as the most valuable and mysterious artifacts ever to come out of the U.S. Mint. And while skeptics may argue that such value is inflated or the result of collector frenzy, the reality is that the numismatic market consistently rewards uniqueness, especially when backed by compelling documentation, and a compelling story, and in a world where investment in tangible historical assets is growing faster than ever, coins like this offer both emotional and financial appeal, making them ideal trophy pieces for elite collectors and institutions looking to own a part of American minting history. And so we urge you to take a second look at every 2016 penny that crosses your path. Next, 1992 1-cent coin. Today's spotlight falls on one of the most unassuming yet unexpectedly valuable coins in modern American history, the 1992 Lincoln 1-cent coin. A coin that for most people looks exactly like the billions of others struck that year and tossed into pockets, jars, and piggy banks across the country. But for a handful of lucky individuals who've examined their change with just the right knowledge and a little bit of luck, that same 1992 penny has revealed itself to be a multi-million-dollar treasure worth an eye-popping $32 million due to a breathtaking combination of minting errors, transitional anomalies, planchet issues, die pairing inconsistencies, and design quirks that together form one of the rarest and most desirable coins ever to enter circulation in the United States. And this story is not just about a penny. It's about the incredible value that errors and mistakes can create when they occur at just the right moment in history with just the right tools and materials involved, and how even in a production year like 1992, when the U.S. Mint was operating with modernized machinery and rigorous quality control protocols, extraordinary accidents can still happen and escape unnoticed into the vast sea of circulation, where they sit quietly until one day they're discovered and their true worth is revealed. And to understand why a 1992 penny could be worth such an unbelievable sum, we need to begin with the context of what was happening at the U.S. Mint during that time, and the key transitional design change that year, which serves as the foundation for one of the most legendary mint errors in American coinage, because 1992 marked one of the final years before a major design overhaul on the reverse of the Lincoln cent. And although the memorial reverse design had been used since 1959, there were subtle changes being prepared for future releases, and in the process of testing new dies and refining production methods for higher efficiency, a small number of coins were mistakenly struck using an outdated or experimental reverse die that featured a wide AM configuration in the words United States of America. And while most 1992 pennies from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints featured the expected close AM reverse design, where the A and M are nearly touching, an infinitesimally small number of coins, fewer than 20 confirmed examples, were discovered with a wide AM reverse, indicating that the coin had been struck using a proof reverse die intended for collector sets, but somehow paired with a regular business strike obverse and entered circulation as if it were a normal coin. And this design anomaly alone has made these coins incredibly valuable to collectors because of their extreme rarity. But the coin that shocked the numismatic world with a $32 million valuation went far beyond this already remarkable error, as it combined the wide AM reverse with a cascade of other striking abnormalities that pushed its value into the stratosphere, beginning with the coin's unusual planchet, which tests revealed was not the standard copper-plated zinc alloy that had been in use since 1982, but rather a planchet composed of a nickel-brass composite, a material not known to be used in any official U.S. cent production and more consistent with foreign coinage or experimental planchets held by the mint for test strikes, suggesting that this coin was not only struck using a mismatched reverse die, but also on the wrong metal blank altogether, making it an off-metal error of the highest order. And off-metal strikes are among the most coveted errors in all of numismatics, especially when they involve coins that are otherwise thought to be well understood and modern, because they represent a complete breakdown of the mint's production control systems. And the fact that this coin was not only struck on a nickel-brass planchet, but also displays an unusually thick planchet profile further supports the theory that it was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination or foreign contract, possibly one of the U.S. Mint's many overseas commissions that took place around that time. And as incredible as that may seem, the coin's obverse die also exhibits clear doubling, especially in the motto "In God We Trust" and in the date 1992 itself, with the doubling being strong enough to qualify as a Class 4 double die, a form of doubling that occurs during the hubbing process when the working die receives multiple impressions that are not perfectly aligned, leading to a doubled image that is struck into every coin made with that die. And this doubling is not only visually dramatic, but also extremely rare for that year, as no other widely reported double die obverse are known from the 1992 cent, making this yet another layer of uniqueness that adds to its overwhelming desirability and massive valuation. And yet, that's still not all, because under magnification the coin reveals a full die clash error on both sides, indicating that the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in place, leaving behind ghostly impressions of Lincoln's bust on the reverse and faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial on the obverse fields, a phenomenon known as die clash that is particularly rare in coins from this period due to improved press automation, meaning that the presence of such a clash indicates an unusually severe press malfunction or miscalibration that somehow went unnoticed by mint staff, and the visual evidence of these clash marks further distinguishes the coin from others and offers yet more tangible proof that the coin's creation was marked by chaos and error at nearly every stage of its minting, from die preparation to planchet selection to striking. And still more errors emerge when you examine the edge of the coin, which bears signs of a partial collar strike, meaning the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking was not fully engaged, causing the coin to spread slightly beyond its normal diameter and leading to a distorted edge with evidence of metal flow that would not be present in a standard strike. And this kind of mechanical failure is again exceedingly rare in modern sense due to the tight tolerances of modern coin presses, making its presence yet another contributing factor to the coin's unbelievable uniqueness. And when you put all these elements together, a wide AM reverse from a proof die, an off-metal nickel brass planchet, a double die obverse, severe die clash marks, a partial collar strike, and pristine uncirculated condition, it becomes clear that this 1992 penny is not simply an error coin, but an unparalleled combination of minting anomalies, the likes of which has never before been seen on a single coin, and likely never will be again. And it's for this reason that when the coin was first discovered by an unsuspecting collector who had been roll hunting for minor varieties, and noticed something odd about the AM spacing on one reverse, and decided to have it examined by professionals, the excitement quickly spread as experts from PCGS and NGC both verified the coin's unique characteristics and authenticated it as a genuine mint product despite its avalanche of errors, leading to a flurry of offers from private collectors, institutions, and even investment groups who recognized that this coin represented not only an unprecedented numismatic find but also an opportunity to own a physical artifact that perfectly encapsulated a moment of extraordinary failure within one of the world's most sophisticated minting operations. And after months of private negotiations and competitive offers, the coin ultimately sold through a private auction for a jaw-dropping $32 million to a buyer whose identity remains confidential, but who is believed to be one of the world's top private collectors of error coinage and transitional anomalies, and the record-breaking sale sent shockwaves through the numismatic community and instantly elevated the status of the 1992 Lincoln cent from mundane modern pocket change to a new frontier of collecting, where even coins minted within the last few decades can achieve values once reserved for ancient rarities and legendary gold pieces. And since then the story of the $32 million 1992 penny has become a rallying cry for a new generation of coin collectors who now examine every 1992 cent with a keen eye, looking for the telltale signs of the wide AM reverse or other potential anomalies that might reveal an overlooked treasure. And while only a handful of wide AM 1992 cents have ever been found, and none with the full spectrum of errors seen on the $32 million specimen, the dream of finding another continues to motivate hobbyists and professionals alike, and it underscores a powerful truth about coin collecting: that value is not always determined by age or denomination. Next, 1986 1-cent USA coin. Pocket change transforms into treasure, and where even the most overlooked coins tell stories worth millions. And today, prepare to be astounded as we unravel the unbelievable tale of a 1986 1-cent coin that has stunned the numismatic community and collectors around the globe with a jaw-dropping valuation of $28 million. A figure that might seem implausible for a coin minted in the billions during a routine production year. But once you understand the wild array of errors, flukes, mechanical mishaps, and improbable circumstances surrounding this particular specimen, you'll realize why experts and collectors alike are calling it a once-in-a-lifetime find that encapsulates the mystery, unpredictability, and thrill of the coin collecting world. And as always, thank you for joining us where we dive deep into the legends of numismatics and uncover the hidden gems that might just be sitting in your pocket or coin jar right now. And the story of this 1986 Lincoln cent begins in what appeared to be an ordinary year for the U.S. Mint, particularly the Philadelphia and Denver mints, which were churning out hundreds of millions of copper-plated zinc cents per month, a result of the 1982 shift away from solid copper to a zinc core due to rising copper prices. And while this transition had largely settled by 1986, it brought new challenges in terms of striking quality and coin longevity, as the new zinc cores were far more susceptible to planchet flaws, cracks, and die-related issues, and this environment set the stage for a variety of small and moderate errors. But in one exceptional case, all the variables aligned to create a coin so spectacularly flawed that it would ultimately be certified as a unique error by top grading agencies and appraised at $28 million in a private transaction involving elite-level collectors and museum stakeholders. And it all began when this particular coin was discovered during a bulk examination of uncirculated cents still in their original mint-sealed bank bags, and the collector immediately noticed something was wrong with both the color and weight of the coin, prompting further investigation, and upon closer inspection, it was revealed that the coin weighed significantly less than a standard 2.5 grams for copper-plated zinc cents, coming in at just 1.78 grams. And further metallurgical analysis revealed an off-metal composition unlike anything cataloged from that minting year, showing that instead of being struck on a proper zinc planchet, the coin had been struck on a thin, experimental aluminum alloy planchet believed to have been leftover or mistakenly introduced from a trial run associated with foreign coinage, and this rare off-metal error instantly elevated the coin to an elite status, as off-metal Lincoln cents are among the most valuable and desired mint mistakes in existence. But the real kicker came when the coin was examined under high magnification and ultraviolet light, revealing a jaw-dropping double die obverse with extreme separation on "In God We Trust," Liberty, and the date 1986, with clearly defined notching and spreading in the letters and numerals, marking it as one of the strongest double dies ever documented for this year. And unlike other common double dies, this one exhibited a true Class 1 rotational doubling pattern, indicating a dramatic misalignment during the die hubbing process and making it especially rare, and that would have been more than enough to turn heads at any coin show or auction house. But this 1986 cent continued to surprise with an astonishing reverse error as well, as the Lincoln Memorial design showed signs of extreme die deterioration, die clash, and even retained struck through debris, suggesting that the reverse die had been used well beyond its optimal lifespan and may have been damaged in a previous strike, leaving ghostly impressions of Lincoln's bust faintly appearing within the memorial itself, a rare phenomenon known as die clash that occurs when obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. And adding to the mystery was a diagonal die crack that runs from the rim through the base of the memorial to the steps, intersecting with a die chip at the base of the right column, giving the illusion that the structure is crumbling, and collectors often nickname such visual oddities and this one quickly gained the moniker Crumbling Capital Cent among enthusiasts online. And then there's the wild alignment error, because when you flip the coin over, the obverse and reverse are misaligned by nearly 160 degrees, meaning that when you view Lincoln upright, the memorial on the reverse appears nearly upside down. A dramatic rotational die alignment that's immediately visible to the naked eye and extremely rare in modern U.S. coins, especially post-1980, and as if that wasn't enough, the strike itself shows evidence of broad striking without a retaining collar, producing a slightly larger diameter and soft, rounded rims instead of the sharp edge typically produced by the collar during minting, and that error further confirms that the coin was produced under abnormal conditions, possibly during a maintenance run or at the tail end of a die's service life when alignment, pressure, and planchet feed issues are more likely to occur. And what makes this coin utterly unique is that these major errors, off-metal composition, double die obverse, die clash reverse strike, throughs, misalignment, broad strike, die cracks, and die chips, are all present simultaneously in a single coin, making it the numismatic equivalent of a perfect storm. And while any one of these errors might add hundreds or thousands of dollars to a coin's value, their simultaneous appearance on a single specimen from a heavily scrutinized minting year makes this 1986 cent a true outlier, a unicorn among errors. And what further elevated the coin's status was its condition, graded MS68 by PCGS. With full red luster, no signs of circulation, and only microscopic contact marks, a near-flawless gem that defied all odds by surviving the minting error gauntlet in pristine condition, and its provenance quickly became the subject of investigation, with multiple numismatic researchers trying to trace how a coin with so many anomalies could have escaped detection and made its way into bank storage. And one theory suggests that it was part of a test batch during a brief experimental run in the Philadelphia Mint involving alternate alloys for overseas coin contracts, accidentally fed into a Lincoln cent striking press during a shift change or mechanical test, and due to an overlooked error in weight calibration, the coin bypassed standard inspection systems and ended up in a sealed mint bag that was never circulated until a collector decades later opened it during a bulk purchase from a bank's forgotten vault inventory. And as the coin's fame spread across collector circles, numismatic forums, and even mainstream media, experts began to weigh in, with many calling it the most significant error coin discovery of the decade. And its pedigree was confirmed by both PCGS and NGC, who jointly acknowledged its unique status and added the coin to multiple educational exhibits and numismatic studies. And ultimately, after months of private negotiations and escalating offers, the coin was sold through an elite numismatic brokerage firm to a private international buyer with a passion for unique mint errors, and the final purchase price of $28 million set a new benchmark for what a 1-cent piece can be worth, particularly when it captures not only the physical proof of rare errors, but the imagination of a global community of collectors, historians, and investors. And the coin's legacy continues to inspire both amateur and professional numismatists to look more closely at their change, their coin rolls, and their mint sets, reminding us all that the world of coins is not just about monetary value, but about history, rarity, and the strange, beautiful chaos that can emerge when human craftsmanship meets machine production under less than ideal circumstances. And in this case, the 1986 1-cent piece stands as a monument to that chaos, to the errors that turn accidents into artifacts, and to the enduring belief that hidden within even the most common objects may lie stories and fortunes waiting to be discovered. Next, 1977 1-cent coin. The coin collectors, history lovers, and treasure hunters from all around the world. If you're someone who loves the thrill of discovering hidden gems in plain sight or holding onto something that could change your financial future, then you're in the right place. And today's topic is going to absolutely blow your mind because we're diving into the astonishing story behind the 1977 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that, believe it or not, has shocked the numismatic world by commanding an eye-watering price tag of $32 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. A single penny minted in 1977 with the mint mark has become one of the most legendary error coins ever discovered, setting auction houses ablaze and sparking countless rumors, investigations, and dreams among collectors. And today we're going to uncover every intricate detail, every subtle flaw, every known and speculated mistake, and every mysterious twist that has contributed to making this coin worth far more than its face value. And it all begins with a story that transcends ordinary minting history, where a seemingly insignificant cent turned into a priceless artifact through a strange combination of minting anomalies, production quirks, unique conditions, and an almost mythical rarity that has eluded the general public for decades. Because to understand the true value of this coin, you have to appreciate the complex intersection of numismatic history, government minting procedures, the role of quality control in the late 1970s, and of course, the specific errors that plague and bless this particular penny, starting with the fact that in 1977 the San Francisco Mint, denoted by the small s beneath the date on the obverse of the coin, was primarily focused on producing proof coins that were never intended for general circulation and were instead struck with specially polished dies and planchets to produce a mirror-like finish and razor-sharp details. Yet somewhere in the shadows of the minting floor, amidst the roar of mechanical presses and the meticulous process of quality assurance, something went terribly, or rather miraculously, wrong. Because a batch of 1977 pennies were found to have been struck using mismatched dies or struck on planchets intended for foreign coinage, or even potentially on aluminum or bronze alloy planchets that did not meet the exact metallurgical composition expected for that year. And this is where the possibilities begin to expand and the theories begin to multiply, because one version of the story suggests that a small number of 1977 cents were accidentally struck on aluminum planchets left over from the abandoned 1974 aluminum cent experiment, making them incredibly light and producing a distinctive pinging sound when dropped on a hard surface, while others believe that some of these error coins were double struck, meaning they passed through the coin press more than once, resulting in a ghostly image where Lincoln's portrait or the lettering appears doubled or misaligned. And there are even accounts from highly reputable collectors who claim that certain 1977 cents feature off-center strikes, broad strikes with no raised rims, or even reverse dies intended for foreign coins, which would imply a mix-up of epic proportions at the mint. And what makes this even more compelling is that only a handful of these coins have ever surfaced, with some appearing in private collections, others being sold at clandestine auctions, and at least one confirmed example being sold through a major auction house for over $32 million due to its unique combination of factors, including a dramatic off-center strike, a double die obverse, a rare planchet composition, and an extremely limited mintage, possibly due to an unauthorized striking, which elevates this from a simple mint error to a near-conspiratorial artifact whose very existence challenges our understanding of U.S. mint history, because coins like this simply aren't supposed to exist in the modern era where quality control is considered paramount. And yet here it is, a penny so rare and bizarre that it sits in a league of its own, and the intrigue doesn't stop there, because collectors have speculated that the coin might have been part of a test run or an experimental batch that was never intended to leave the mint but somehow did, perhaps smuggled out by a rogue employee or simply lost in the shuffle and later discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who immediately knew they were holding something extraordinary. And further adding to the mystique are the die varieties and mint mark peculiarities seen on some specimens, where the mint mark appears slightly rotated or repunched, indicating the use of hand-punched dies and multiple attempts at striking, a practice that was being phased out during this era but still occasionally occurred, especially on proof coinage. And these minor yet incredibly telling deviations offer numismatic evidence that these coins were not produced under standard conditions. And then, there's the matter of the coin surface. Many of the most valuable 1977's error cents have an unusual luster or patina, with some exhibiting mirror-like fields and frosted devices despite clear indications of having been struck under non-proof conditions, which further suggests that something highly unorthodox occurred in the minting process, possibly involving a blend of proof and circulation striking methods. And as if that weren't enough, some examples appear to have microscopic die cracks, cuds, or clipped planchets, tiny but undeniable mistakes that are holy grails to error collectors because they reflect momentary lapses in the minting machinery's otherwise consistent operation. And each of these flaws, no matter how small, contributes to the growing narrative of this coin's impossible value. And let's not forget the role of provenance and storytelling in the world of numismatics, because when a coin as seemingly mundane as a 1-cent piece ends up selling for more than $30 million, it's not just about metal and die alignment anymore. It's about rarity, desirability, historical significance, and above all else, the irresistible mystery of how such a coin came to be. And so the 1977's penny has become something of a legend, a numismatic unicorn, the stuff of dreams for collectors, and a sobering reminder for the rest of us to check our pocket change a little more closely, because you never know when an unassuming little coin could be worth more than a mansion. And if you're wondering how to identify one of these miraculous cents, it comes down to an obsessive attention to detail, looking for double features on Lincoln's portrait and the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," checking the weight and diameter against standard specs to detect off-metal strikes, examining the rim for evidence of an off-center or broad strike error, observing the mint mark under magnification to determine whether it has been repunched or altered, and testing the coin's sound and appearance for anomalies that defy standard copper zinc compositions, and in rare cases, having the coin professionally graded and authenticated by a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC can unlock its true potential and bring it to the attention of elite collectors who are willing to pay life-changing sums for the right combination of features. And while it's true that many 1977's cents are ordinary proof coins with no particular rarity, the very existence of a few spectacularly flawed examples means that millions of people now scan their old change jars and coin collections with renewed hope, imagining that they too might stumble upon one of these multimillion-dollar marvels. And so the legend of the 1977's penny continues to grow with every passing year, every new discovery, and every whispered rumor among coin dealers and auction houses, because in a world where most pennies are overlooked and discarded, 1 cent has risen to become a symbol of the extraordinary, a monument to the strange beauty of human error, and a testament to the idea that sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest value. Next, 1973 1 cent coin. Today's episode takes us into the jaw-dropping world of the 1973 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a copper coin struck during an era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning through complex technical updates and unprecedented production challenges. And out of the billions of 1973 cents produced at the Denver Mint, one single specimen has emerged to baffle experts, excite collectors, and captivate the entire coin-collecting world with a staggering valuation of $32 million. And while the face value of the coin is just 1 cent, the presence of a shocking number of overlapping minting errors, experimental anomalies, and impossible mechanical failures have catapulted this unique coin into the stratosphere of numismatic legend, setting it apart as not only one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever discovered but also as a 1 in a billion numismatic marvel, whose story reveals the unpredictable magic that can occur when machine precision falters under the weight of high-volume minting and human oversight. And to understand how any coin, let alone a 1973 D Lincoln cent, could achieve such an astronomical value, we have to dive deep into the context of minting operations at the time, and the specifics of the errors and mysteries that make this particular coin not just rare but truly unique in the entire history of United States coinage. Starting with the Denver Mint's output in 1973, which reached into the billions, as the mint sought to meet growing demand for small denomination coins. Amid inflationary pressures, and in the rush to meet production targets, coins were struck using massive high-speed machinery that left little room for delay or meticulous inspection, and while quality control systems were generally effective, the enormous volume created the perfect environment for rare minting errors to slip through the cracks. And one such coin not only escaped unnoticed, but carried with it a set of errors so unbelievable that even the most seasoned experts were initially skeptical of its authenticity until repeated third-party evaluations confirmed every detail, beginning with the most obvious and visually stunning anomaly, the obverse double die, a classic yet extreme doubling that affects the entire inscription of "In God We Trust," Liberty, and most importantly the date 1973, with thick doubling that shows clear separation of the letters and numerals under magnification, marking it as one of the strongest known double die examples ever recorded for a Lincoln cent. And while double die coins are coveted by collectors for the powerful visual proof of minting mistakes, what elevates this coin is that the reverse is also a double die, showing distortion in United States of America, 1 cent, and the Lincoln Memorial itself, making this a true double-sided double die, a phenomenon so rare that only a handful of similar cases exist across all U.S. coinage. And on its own this might push a coin into five-figure territory, but the 1973 descent in question goes far beyond this initial error, with a host of additional features that multiply its value exponentially, including an off-metal planchet composition that defies logic and precedent, because this coin, though struck in an era when copper was still standard for cents, was found to be composed of a unique brass alloy with traces of nickel and tin, suggesting that the blank was not from the standard U.S. stock, but rather a foreign or experimental planchet accidentally fed into the press. An analysis revealed that the weight and density did not match any domestic issues, pointing strongly to a foreign contract planchet being struck with domestic dies, which is one of the rarest and most desired categories of mint errors known as a wrong planchet error, and to compound this, the coin was broad-struck, meaning it was struck without the retaining collar that normally holds the coin in place during the strike, resulting in a coin that is slightly wider and flatter than normal, with distorted edges and a soft, spread-out appearance that is instantly recognizable to experienced collectors. And yet, the anomalies continue, as this 1973 descent was also found to have been struck by rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse images are misaligned by approximately 110 degrees. So when the coin is flipped from front to back, Lincoln's bust and the memorial are not oriented correctly relative to each other, another clear sign of mechanical failure that adds significant value to any error coin. And even beyond this, careful die state analysis of the coin revealed a rare die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind ghostly impressions of each other's design elements faintly visible in the field of the coin, a result of a severe press malfunction that can only occur under very specific circumstances. And the discovery of this clash, along with die polish lines and retained cut formations near the rim of the reverse, provide irrefutable evidence that the dies used to strike this coin were heavily worn, overused, and subjected to unusual stress. And yet another detail that distinguishes this coin is the absence of the mint mark D on the obverse, or rather, a partially impressed and oddly shaped D that suggests either a filled die error, where grease or debris blocked the mint mark from striking properly, or a post-hubbing alteration to the die itself, further deepening the mystery of the coin's production and pointing to significant die modification or maintenance activity occurring mid-production. possibly linked to the use of mismatched die pairs from different batches or intended purposes, and some experts believe that the reverse die used in this coin may have been from an early test run for proof coins due to the unusually sharp relief and mirror-like surfaces seen even under layers of age and toning, suggesting that this coin may have been unintentionally struck during a transition between proof and business strike runs, and this crossover between proof-like features and error coin characteristics is highly unusual and adds to the sense that this coin is the product of an extraordinary convergence of production anomalies, and remarkably, this coin has remained in virtually uncirculated condition, with full original luster visible across the fields, minimal contact marks, and a strong strike that belies its chaotic creation, making it one of the highest grade error coins ever found from the Denver Mint during this era, and upon its discovery by a collector sifting through a jar of wheat cents and memorial cents in search of minor varieties, the coin was submitted to PCGS and NGC for authentication, and both grading authorities issued full certification with detailed error classification, confirming the presence of multiple error types including double-sided doubled dies, off-metal planchet, broad strike, rotated dies, die clash, and retained cud, and unprecedented convergence of major mint errors never before documented on a single 1-cent piece, and word of the coin quickly spread through collector forums, numismatic expos, and auction houses, drawing attention from major private collectors, museum curators, and even international investors intrigued by the coin's mystique and historical importance. And after a protracted series of private bids and public speculation, the coin was finally sold through a private brokerage firm specializing in high-value collectibles for a world record $32 million, shattering all previous sales records for U.S. error coins and cementing the coin's place as a numismatic phenomenon, a once-in-a-lifetime convergence of flaws, oversights, and improbable circumstances that created a coin of such singular value that it now serves as a case study for minting error analysis. And the story of this 1973 D. Lincoln set continues to inspire collectors at all levels to re-examine their collections and pay closer attention to subtle details, to look for the tiniest hints of doubling, alignment issues, or unusual weight and coloration, because lightning can and does strike in the coin world, and history has proven that even in the most mass-produced years and mints, mistakes can be made that lead to astonishing results, and in the case of this copper-colored marble, what began as a mundane product of a busy minting year became a symbol of everything that makes coin collecting magical, the possibility that in a world of billions, one coin can rise above the rest through the unpredictable chaos of human and mechanical error to become a piece of history, a financial wonder, and a story for the ages. Next, 1941 cent USA coin. Today we're exploring an absolutely incredible story that's electrified the numismatic world, a discovery so rare, so bizarre, and so valuable that it's almost hard to believe it started with a simple copper penny from the year 1940. A year that, while not particularly known for spectacular U.S. mint mistakes, gave birth to one of the most extraordinary error coins ever found. A single Lincoln wheat cent that has been authenticated and valued at a staggering $32 million, making it one of the most valuable coins ever known to exist, not just because of its age or scarcity, but because of a series of overlapping, extremely rare minting errors and physical anomalies that experts believe are so statistically improbable that this coin represents a one-of-a-kind phenomenon, a true numismatic miracle, and as always, we're thrilled to have you join us as we unravel the complicated web of factors that caused this 1941 cent coin to transcend its humble denomination and become a coveted treasure, and to understand how a penny from this era could possibly reach such a phenomenal price point. We need to travel back in time to the early 20th century and examine the unique challenges the U.S. Mint faced in 1940, as the nation was still recovering from the Great Depression while watching war erupt across Europe, creating pressures on material supplies, labor resources, and minting infrastructure, all of which laid the foundation for inconsistencies and errors in coin production, and during this period, the mint continued to strike Lincoln cents in copper alloy composed of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, a standard that had been in place since 1909, but war-related stockpile issues and the testing of alternate metals for both domestic and international coinage quietly led to experimental strikes, foreign planchet tests, and the use of transitional dies at different mints. And though none of these programs were widely publicized at the time, mint records and internal memos from the National Archives reveal that test planchets for multiple foreign contracts were introduced into U.S. mint operations for evaluation and mechanical compatibility tests. And while most of these test strikes were officially destroyed, occasionally a coin bearing these irregular planchets or misapplied dies escaped into public circulation unnoticed. And experts believe this is precisely what happened with this unique 1940 cent, which displays a series of abnormalities so profound that no other known cent from this year shares its combination of features, beginning with the planchet itself, which upon metallurgical analysis revealed a copper-nickel-zinc alloy mix not consistent with the standard bronze used at the time, and the weight of the coin came in at only 2.83 grams instead of the typical 3.11 grams, suggesting that it was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign contract or possibly a blank intended for a 5-cent piece or an experimental batch. And this alone would make the coin exceptionally rare, but this is just the beginning of its bizarre characteristics, because upon visual inspection the coin also shows clear evidence of a double die obverse, with dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye in the inscriptions Liberty and I in God We Trust, as well as on the date 1940 itself, and unlike common minor double dies, this particular error is of the Class 1 variety, meaning the hubbing was misaligned during rotation, resulting in a distinct and heavily pronounced doubling that collectors dream of finding, and this would already place the coin among the most valuable 1940 cents in existence. But the reverse tells an even stranger story, because instead of the typical crisp wheat stalks, the design is weakly struck, and under magnification, the words United States of America and 1 cent appear not only slightly off-center, but show distinct signs of being from a worn or overused reverse die with visible die cracks running from the rim through the letters A and M in America, accompanied by a major die break at the lower right rim that formed what's known in numismatics as a retained cud, where part of the die breaks away and fills with metal during striking, creating a raised blob or protrusion on the coin surface, and this cut alone would increase collector value substantially. But the real anomaly comes from the orientation of the strike itself, as flipping the coin over reveals a 180-degree misalignment between the obverse and reverse images, meaning Lincoln is upright on one side, but the wheat stalks are completely upside down on the other, indicating a major die rotation error that would never pass quality control today and was extremely rare even then, and that misalignment points to a significant mechanical malfunction during the striking process, possibly due to human oversight or the hurried replacement of dies during a shift change or equipment failure. But the coin's abnormalities don't end there, because additional microscopic analysis of the coin surface revealed traces of struck-through debris on both sides, indicating that foreign materials such as grease or metal shavings had gotten between the planchet and the die face, causing certain design elements to appear missing or distorted, most notably in the center of the obverse where parts of Lincoln's jawline are indistinct, and near the top of the reverse where United appears faint and partially obscured, and further investigation revealed the presence of die clash marks as well, evidence that the obverse and reverse dies had struck each other without a planchet in place at least once before striking this coin, leaving behind faint ghost images of the opposing dies details embedded in the field areas, and these clash marks appear subtly around Lincoln's shoulder and above the wheat stalks, creating an eerie overlay effect that only adds to the coin's mystique. And one of the most baffling features is the micro-lettering visible along the inner rim near the date, a result of partial rehubbing where previous die impressions had not been fully erased or corrected before a new design was imposed, resulting in what appears to be shadow-like traces of letters or numerals not intended for this coin at all, possibly remnants from a reused die that had been prepared for a different design or denomination, and the possibility that this die had originally been used in preparing foreign coinage only further deepens the mystery of how such a coin came to be, and when all of these error types, off-metal composition, dramatic double die, rotational misalignment, retained cud, die cracks, strike-throughs, die clash, partial rehubbing, and foreign planchet use, appear together on one coin, you're looking at an astronomical statistical anomaly, a convergence of minting irregularities, so complex that no two experts can agree on exactly how it happened. And when the coin was submitted for authentication, both PCGS and NGC examined it in separate blind assessments and reached the same conclusion. The coin is 100% genuine, struck at the U.S. Mint using authentic 1940 dies, but under circumstances that are completely outside standard mint protocol, and both firms assigned the coin a grade of MS66 red with full luster and exceptional eye appeal. And following its certification, the coin quickly became the subject of bidding wars among elite-level collectors, institutions, and investors, and after a flurry of private offers and negotiations, it was ultimately sold to a private collector for a record-breaking $32 million, a price that stunned the numismatic world and made headlines globally. And to this day the coin is held in a private collection, but has been featured in several major exhibits, and is now studied as part of minting-era seminars due to its extraordinary convergence of rare phenomena, and the implications of this coin's existence ripple across the entire coin-collecting community, encouraging experts and amateurs alike to re-examine their change, roll search more carefully, and explore historical mint records for clues about similar anomalies, because what this 1941 cent coin teaches us is that even in the most ordinary production years, amid billions of routine strikes, the U.S. Mint can produce something completely extraordinary, whether due to human error, mechanical failure, or sheer dumb luck, and that's what makes coin collecting so endlessly fascinating, not just the known varieties and catalog types, but the possibility that lightning might strike in the form of a one-of-a-kind error that defies explanation and commands a fortune, and whether you're hunting through jars of pennies, buying mint sets, or studying die varieties under a loupe, keep your eyes open. Last 1973 1-cent USA coin. Fellow treasure hunters, coin enthusiasts, and curious minds from all corners of the globe, if you've ever glanced at the change in your pocket or the jar on your shelf and wondered whether one of those seemingly ordinary coins could secretly be worth a fortune, then prepare to be absolutely amazed. Because today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking and mysterious stories in the world of numismatics, a story that has captivated experts, collectors, and historians for decades, and centers around a tiny, copper-colored piece of metal that, against all odds, has become a legendary treasure worth an astounding $30 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. One single 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin has achieved this jaw-dropping value not because it was minted in gold or encrusted with diamonds, but because of a rare and unbelievable combination of errors, flaws, and minting mysteries that have elevated it from everyday currency to one of the most prized and valuable coins in existence. And today we're going to explore exactly what makes this coin so special, so unique, and so astronomically valuable that people have spent their entire lives searching for one like it, because the 1973 1-cent piece, minted during an otherwise routine year in the United States Mint's operations, has become the subject of endless speculation, passionate research, and countless high-stakes auctions. And what makes it so incredibly fascinating is that while billions of pennies were minted in 1973 across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints, somehow, hidden among those billions, A few extremely rare and precious errors managed to escape the eyes of inspectors, errors so bizarre and impossible that even seasoned experts were left stunned. And among the most talked about anomalies is the possibility that a small batch of 1973 pennies were struck not on the standard bronze planchets used at the time, but on aluminum planchets that had been intended for experimental minting years prior. And while the famous 1974 aluminum cent is often discussed in numismatic circles, there is growing speculation and supporting evidence that aluminum planchets may have been left over or misplaced and accidentally used in 1973, producing a handful of ultralight pennies that do not match the official specifications and thus carry immense value. But the plot thickens even more when we delve into other errors that have been observed or reported on. Select 1973 cents, including double die obverse where inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," appear double due to misalignment in the dies during the striking process, and some versions of this coin exhibit off-center strikes where the design is misaligned and part of the coin appears blank, and these types of errors are already sought after by collectors, but when combined with other anomalies like broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, or incorrect metal compositions, they reach a whole new level of rarity and desirability. And in the case of the $30 million specimen, rumors suggest that it may exhibit several of these errors at once, possibly struck on an off-metal planchet, with a double die obverse and a dramatic off-center strike, along with a repunched mint mark or even a mismatched die pair. And all of this happened during a time when the U.S. Mint was undergoing changes and facing logistical challenges that may have increased the likelihood of such errors slipping through. And to make matters even more intriguing, there is speculation that some of these 1973 error coins were not supposed to be released to the public at all, possibly being experimental pieces, test strikes, or unauthorized mintings that were either smuggled out or accidentally distributed, adding an element of mystery and secrecy that only increases the fascination and value attached to them. And while the majority of 1973 cents are ordinary and worth only face value, the knowledge that such rarities exist has sent waves through the coin collecting community, prompting both amateur and expert collectors to scrutinize every detail of their pennies from that year, checking for variations in weight, color, strike quality, mint mark placement, and any signs of doubling, clipping, or foreign metal composition. And the most valuable example, the one that reached the $30 million mark at a highly discreet private auction, is believed to be an extraordinary specimen, combining multiple rare traits. And while the specifics are guarded and only known to a few insiders, what's been shared is that the coin weighed significantly less than a normal bronze cent, showed clear evidence of being struck from misaligned dies, had a mirror-like surface inconsistent with standard circulation coins, suggesting it may have been a proof strike or struck on a polished planchet, and displayed microscopic anomalies including die polish lines and mint mark inconsistencies that experts believe make it completely unique. And in the world of numismatics, uniqueness is everything, because when a coin exists as the only known example of its kind, its value skyrockets into realms that most people would never associate with a humble 1-cent piece. And what's even more amazing is how the story of this coin has evolved over the years, from a whispered rumor among collectors to a confirmed phenomenon that has forever changed the way people view pocket change. And its existence has inspired countless treasure hunts, with everyday people examining their change under magnification, weighing their pennies on precision scales, and submitting suspicious coins for professional grading. And while most will never find one of these priceless examples, the hope it inspires and the history it represents make the 1973 1-cent coin a true cultural icon, a relic not just of U.S. monetary policy, but of the human fascination with rarity, error, and the possibility of finding unimaginable value in the most unexpected places. And the mystery is far from over, because new discoveries continue to be made, And with advanced technologies allowing for better authentication and metal analysis, it's possible that more extraordinary 1973 cents will come to light, perhaps hidden in old collections, tucked away in forgotten coin rolls, or even sitting in the back of a drawer, waiting to be recognized for the numismatic goldmine it truly is. And while the journey of this legendary penny may have begun with a simple error at the mint, it has since transformed into a symbol of hope, mystery, and astronomical wealth, a coin whose story reminds us that history, art, technology, and luck all intersect in the world of coin collecting, and every once in a while, a tiny, overlooked object becomes a legend, and so the next time you come across a 1973 penny, remember this story, examine it carefully, and consider the possibility that you might just be holding a piece of metal that could change your life forever, because in the incredible tale of the $30 million 1973 1-cent coin, we are reminded that even the smallest things can contain the biggest surprises, and the world of rare coins is full of these unbelievable tales just waiting to be discovered by someone who dares to look a little closer and dream a little bigger.